Please rise for the gospel. The Holy Gospel according to Luke, the 19th chapter. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through it. A man there named Zacchaeus, he was a chief tax collector and was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd he could not, because he was short in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see him, because he was going to pass that way. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today." So he hurried down and was happy to welcome him. All who saw it began to grumble and say, "He has gone to be the guest of one who is a sinner." Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Look, half of my possessions, Lord, I will give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay them back 4 times as much." Then Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek out and to save the lost." The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. You may be seated. Well, I'm curious how many of you, as soon as you hear the name Zacchaeus, you get a certain song in your head you might have learned as a child. Yeah, some of you got it. Okay, good. Some of you are young enough in the room that I'm not going to chastise you like the first service. I told them they had to go to remedial Sunday school if they didn't know it, but it's okay. It's okay. So this story is a familiar story because we've heard that we've sang the song. We know the words. We know the movement of where it goes. But this is the text assigned for this day if we weren't going to celebrate All Saints Sunday. But I actually, as I looked at it, I thought, why not tell Zacchaeus' story on All Saints Day? Because I think it fits with the themes and the things of All Saints Day. So All Saints Day, one of the things that we do is we remember all of the saints of God. We remember those newly baptized saints, the 18 who were baptized this last year. We remember those new saints. And then we, of course, remember those who have died in the faith. We remember those saints who have died, who have completed their baptismal journey, one way that we speak about it. But I think there's something about Zacchaeus' story that also speaks to all of you. That is, you too are all saints. When you are made baptized a child of God, you become a saint. You become one of those that God has named beloved. It's part of the reason why at the beginning of the church service I say those words, "O holy people." It's to recognize the sainthood in each one of you. Now, we're also Lutheran. So because we're Lutheran, we love this term. We love to say both and. It doesn't matter, like maybe you're somebody that on your hamburger you like both ketchup and mustard. Or maybe you like just one. That's not a Lutheran thing. That was just me being funny. It's called the cold medicine. I don't know. But we like these both ands. We like these things to go together. So we say that we are both saint and sinner. And because we say we're both saint and sinner, I could have easily started the worship service as well by saying, "Hey, you lousy sinners, good morning." Now that might have been a little shocking to some of you, right? But I could have, because it recognizes the reality of who we are, that we are both saint and sinner, that we are made holy by God, but yet we fall short all of the time. So why does Zacchaeus become so important and such a big part of what I think All Saints Day is about? Because right as Jesus is entering into Jericho, as he's passing through it, there's this man named Zacchaeus. And right away, we're going to be told a lot about Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector. Do you think that's a good job or a bad job? That's a bad job, right? Okay, you're with me, good. And he was rich. So in the context of Luke's gospel, to be rich is good or bad. Bad. Luke's gospel, to be bad. And so right away, we know that this Zacchaeus guy is kind of on the outside. He's on the outskirts. He's been pushed out to the margins because of the role that he carries in society. And so then he's trying to see Jesus because, of course, we've heard this now for weeks in Luke's gospel, is that the people have heard about Jesus. They're trying to see Jesus. They're trying to find their way to him. They know that healing comes in his name. They know that it's powerful. And because of all of this, we remember we heard the 10 afflicted with leprosy crying out to Jesus for healing. And if you remember everybody traveling with Jesus, what did they do? They said, go away. Don't bother him. When people brought little children to Jesus, what did they say? What did the disciples say? Get the children away from him. Don't bother him. But Jesus is constantly bringing in those who would otherwise be turned aside. And so we see it again here with Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus climbs up that sycamore tree, as we all know. He climbs up the sycamore tree so that he can see Jesus. But I think there's something even more powerful going on here, and it's that up in that tree, Jesus sees Zacchaeus. That he has gone from being this obscure figure on the margins to being a central place in what Jesus is going to say. Just like he saw the men with leprosy that he healed, he saw the faith in them, he saw what was happening around them, he saw the one that returned to give thanks. Jesus sees, and when Jesus sees someone, they are brought from the outside and brought back into the inside. And so, of course, it's at this point when we hear that line that you should all be able to just almost say with me if you know the song. When Jesus sees Zacchaeus up in the tree, he says, Zacchaeus, you come down, right? Because I'm going to your house today. And it's in that moment that Zacchaeus goes from being this outsider, this tax collector, this rich person, this one that everyone else would push to the outer edges of the circle. And Jesus has not only brought him in, but made him an equal. And of course, as it often goes, all who saw it began to grumble. We don't like it when people get something that we don't think they should deserve. So what do? We grumble about it, right? They say he has gone to be the guest of one who is a sinner. But Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, look, half of my possessions, Lord. And here's an interesting thing. So the Greek's a little ambiguous about what tense this should be in as it's translated. If you've ever translated from another language, it never works quite perfectly into English. So we could just as easily say, Lord, I do give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I do pay back 4 times as much. And I think there's a reason we could go with that translation, which is different than what we have in the scriptures. And we could go with that translation because what we recognize is that throughout this story in Luke's gospel, as people hear about Jesus, their lives are changed before they actually meet Jesus. Those lepers, the people afflicted with leprosy, when they cry out to Jesus, they cry out to Jesus because they have faith that Jesus can heal them. And because of that faith, we are told that they are healed. So they've been converted before this moment comes. And so whether we say those as future or we say those as things that he has already been doing, it's where Jesus leaves us that's important. And Jesus says, today salvation has come to this house because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek out and to save the lost. And I do believe that this is where Zacchaeus' story becomes our story. because it's a recognition that we don't all have it all together, that we don't have everything in perfect place, in perfect order, and perfect. But yet we find ourselves so often falling short of what God would want us to do. We have those moments when we say to ourselves, God, I can't believe I said that. Ever done that? Yeah. Only once, yep. We've all had that, right? But the recognition is that we too are children of Abraham. We too are children of the promise. We too are children of God. We too are children that have been claimed by God in the waters of baptism. And so because of that, we have our place. That we cannot be turned out, but we have our place. And so then, no matter what it is that we find ourselves doing, whether we have moments of falling short, whether we have years of falling short, whether we have decades of falling short, whatever it might be, we have a God who keeps forgiving us, a God who keeps calling us back in, a God who keeps claiming us over and over again, a God who reminds us that we are beloved children of God. And so, as one person calls it, they call all of the people in the world every day the ordinary saints. And so, as ordinary saints, which means you're all ordinary saints. As ordinary saints, we have that claim put on each one of us so that we too can know that there is nothing that can separate us from God's love. And it's in God's love that we can go out and be God's people in this world. Amen.